said we was gonna call this just a conversation?
Yeah.
What was the name though?
Oh, the name was gonna be Affirmative Podcast.
Affirmative Podcast. So
Yes.
what y'all seeing right now is the first. This is the pilot episode right here.
Yes.
The pilot episode. So, cuz, can you explain to the folks like what's the purpose? What we doing?
So basically, I came up with the Affirmative Podcast. I wanted to just base it off of health, mental health, physical health. We all out here are dealing with different. We're dealing with things mentally. We're dealing with things physically. And me and you, we're both dealing with diabetes. Well, you healed from your diabetes.
I'm still technically diabetic, according to,
I got you. I got you. So I have type 1 diabetes. You have type 2 diabetes. Yeah. So I basically wanted to just do this first podcast. The first video, I based it off of living with diabetes. I wanted to be able to tell my story, and I wanted you to also be able to tell your story and just how we deal with living with this every day.
Because at what age did you get your diagnosis for diabetes?
I was 7 when I was diagnosed. I don't know if you remember. We took a family trip to Florida.
Yeah, to Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
That Florida trip was when I got sick.
Yeah.
On the trip and on the way back was when we found out that I was diabetic.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2000.
Yeah, that was a while back ago, man. And so with my type 2 diabetes, I just got diagnosed back in last year in 2023 in December. But it's no telling like how long I've been dealing with it. I was pre-diabetic for almost 6-7 years.
Okay.
But I was officially type 2 diabetic last year.
Gotcha.
So at 7 years old, cause like, can you just tell people your story? Like, from that day you got diagnosed as a 7-year-old, a child, haven't even experienced life from on up to now. How's that story?
Okay, cool.
And be sure that everybody, y'all, check out the YouTube page. We're gonna create the YouTube page, and it's gonna be on all the social media platforms, streaming platforms, because I just want to thank you, because this is needed. A lot of times, people just dealing with these diseases, and the only people they can vent to is like their close friends and family. But if they don't have the disease, they don't understand.
Right.
Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in there, y'all. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I was diagnosed at 7. It was really scary, honestly, being a 7-year-old, having a chronic disease, like just not being able to do what normal kids my age can do. Like, how kids go to birthday parties, they get their candy bag, they can eat the cake and all of that stuff. Me, I'm just like sitting here watching everybody. Watching everybody indulge in their candy and their cake, and I can't, like, I can, but not, as much as everybody else. But it was super, super hard growing up with it, because it's like, one day I'm a normal kid, the next day I gotta change up my whole lifestyle. Yeah. So I guess just I can back up on the story. So we took a family trip to Orlando, Florida, Disney World. The whole trip, I kid you not, I was not happy. Yeah. And nobody understood why. They're like, okay, we're at Disney World. Like, you get to see Mickey, Minnie, Legoland, all of this stuff. You're supposed to be a kid. You're supposed to be happy. I was sick the whole time. I had a mug on my face the whole time. Like, the world was just over for me.
And using the restroom.
Using the restroom a lot, y'all. I used the restroom a lot. I was craving chocolate milk. I was just super, super dehydrated and thirsty. But yeah, so the day we came back, we all met up at our great grandmother's house, Carly. We met up at her house, and my aunt, she said that she looked at me and she was trying to tell my mom that, something just did not seem right about me. And my mom, she was just like, oh, well, she's probably tired. We've been traveling and stuff. Probably just need a nap, just get some rest. So I think like a couple of moments after that, I passed out. I do remember passing out. I do remember being in the back of my sister's dad's truck. They rushed me to Kelsey Sebo Clinic. I woke up and I was in the doctor's office. I just hear the doctor saying, we need to rush her to Texas Children's Hospital. She has type 1 diabetes. The good thing is we caught it, before things got worse, but we need to, get her there. So I ended up being, rushed to Texas Children's Hospital. Being there, again, I'm 7 years old and I'm just lost for words. I'm dazed, confused. I have, y'all, no idea what was going on. I had so many people coming in and out the room. They were trying to just like educate me on what was happening with me. But if I'm being honest,
Yeah. You 7.
Right, I'm 7. I don't know anything that's going on. I do remember them giving me like a teddy bear and a book. It kind of explained like what I had and kind of just how to deal with it. And the bear, it had like these patches and a diabetic bracelet. I do walk around with my necklace to, you know, let people know that I am diabetic. But it had like this necklace, the bracelet, and the little patches to show me where I could give my insulin injections. And they were just telling me like from now on, like you have to take shots every day, basically to live.
Yeah.
So yeah, but from 7, I think my mom took care of that. I didn't have to give myself the shots, but they did teach me how to do it just in case. But from 7, I'm gonna say maybe up until I was 10, my mom was giving me my shots, and I think after that, I started to do it on my own. I think I was less scared, or I was like, okay, like this is nothing. Like I can do this now.
I can do it.
So yeah, from 7 to 10, my mom did it, and then I started doing it after that. Then as I got older, I started to be more active, started to get into sports. I was playing soccer, and then when I got into middle school, I started playing basketball, volleyball, softball. I started doing everything, and I just had to be, you know, more cautious, more careful of what I was doing, because I couldn't just get out there and run. I had to check my blood sugar first, make sure it was like a good number. If it was maybe like, I'm gonna say maybe it was like in the 80s or close, like in the low 100s, I had to just make sure I eat something small, just so it won't drop super, super low while I'm out there being active. And then even after I was done being active, I had to come back, check my blood sugar again, make sure the levels was good. Like
then you get dehydrated easily.
Yep. I had to stay with some water. I had to stay with like a little orange juice or something just in case I got too low, and then something just to keep me hydrated.
How in high school you're a kid, you're around all this Doritos, Cheetos,
like all the snacks.
All the snacks. Were you diligent on as far as like I'm sticking to, you know, only certain carbohydrates just so I don't go too high or dip too low? Did you have a diet, a certain diet you had to follow?
Okay, y'all. So I did have a certain diet. Did I stick to it? Absolutely not. I was a teenager. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I kid you not. I wanted to be like everybody else. I said I'm okay. I think if I watch myself, I'm cautious and careful. I can eat this. Like, you know, I know my limits. You know how people, they have their alcohol limits? I know my snack limits. Yeah. But I had a strict meal plan. It was breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. That's what I stuck with. Every day at the nurse, 9 o'clock on the dot, I was in the nurse's office eating my snack so I wouldn't like pass out during the day and like during classes. Because I'm like, you know, you're going to classes, that's still strenuous and very stressful. Even though you just sit in the classroom all day, but it's still a lot on a diabetic, and especially a diabetic that has to try to stay focused. So I had to make sure I had that snack even after school, because I ran track. So before track practice, I had to make sure and my coach made sure I sat right there next to her and ate my snack before I started running, because I did pass out a couple of times, but I don't know. Well, how? But yeah, I did. I passed out a couple of times, not only at track, but in classes. Like I had my 10th grade year, my 11th grade year, in both of my science classes, I passed out. My blood sugar dropped super, super low. I had no idea. Cause you know, I ate my snack like normal, you know, check my blood sugar like I always do, but sometimes it just drops and I have no idea. Yeah.
Wow. So seems like you had a team around you, but mentally, as you got older, how did that affect you, like with your mental?
Honestly, I think it did affect me a lot. Because I feel like every time I got a handle on it, or I felt like I had it managed, something would happen. So there was like a moment where I had consistent highs, but then when I got my highs under control, I started getting consistent lows. So it was just hard to like just find that balance. And mentally, I'm like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, what else? Like, what am I missing? But yeah, it definitely messed me up mentally for sure.
So what was you would say the most challenging thing, just as you was coming into like young adulthood, with dealing with type 1 diabetes?
Not having support, like doing it on my own. Cause I moved out when I was like 20, turning 21. That's when I got my first apartment, and I was, on my own. So I had to make sure I did what I needed to do. Wake myself up when I needed to, set alarms. Wake up in the middle of the night just to check my blood sugar, just to make sure it's not dropping too low. Make sure I stayed with keeping my prescriptions up to date, taking my shots the way I needed to, checking my blood sugar 5 times a day how I needed to. Just all of that stuff was just put on me, and I just had to, that's when I had to just kind of like just step up and step into my own, like, okay, mama's not here, so you gotta figure it out.
Did you have an accountability partner to kind of, just make sure that you stayed on track?
I did, but I didn't. So like my best friend, she's always been there, but your best friends, they go through their own stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's like I couldn't always count on her because I know she was dealing with her stuff, but she was always there anytime I was sick or I needed something. Not only her, my aunt, my dad's sister, she was always there. Like anytime I was in the hospital, she was there. Anytime I had something going on, because my mom worked a lot, and then she also had my brother and my sister to take care of, so I just couldn't count on her all the time. So I did have other family members to step up when my mom couldn't.
Gotcha. So as we know, diabetes affects not only just your whole system, every system in your body. What complications has having diabetes brought on to you?
Ooh, y'all. Like Santa Claus is naughty and nice list, honestly.
Yeah.
But it has messed with my vision. So I now have what's called diabetic retinopathy. My eyes, they started to bleed. I can't remember specifically what it is. My vessels, they kind of like disappeared, and so they tried to grow new blood vessels, and in growing new blood vessels, they burst. And so that's why my eyes are bleeding. That's what the diabetic retinopathy is. And diabetic retinopathy is also caused by uncontrolled blood sugars over a span of time and high blood pressure, which is also on the list. I do now have high blood pressure. I was diagnosed with that back in 2022. The diabetic retinopathy came right after that, November 2022. I've had to have about a good 4 surgeries. I might have to have another one this month. I'm not exactly sure, but my right eye went completely blind. My retina fully detached. They did the surgery that I had is called the vitrectomy surgery procedure, where they put like a silicone in your eye to kind of like attach that retina back and just to hold it in place. So it's still detached, but there is a silicone that's like holding it together, allowing me to be able to see. They didn't think that I would be able to see out of my right eye. They thought it was going to be a slim chance, but now I can see about 75% out of that eye. And it's just going to be, that's how it's going to be for the rest of my life. There's no like going back from that. Yeah.
But is it degenerative or like with age, or is just how you can see now is just how it's going to be?
Honestly, how I see now is how it's going to be. That's what they're claiming, but even they didn't think I would be able to see 75%. So who knows, honestly? And God is amazing.
God, they definitely.
He can change that narrative at
any
time.
Definitely. He has all the power. Wow. So your eyes. What else? The blood pressure.
The blood pressure. I also am a dialysis patient now. I have renal failure. Kidneys failed on me. That's also caused by the diabetes. Neuropathy. I have neuropathy in the feet. It's not like a bad. I don't have like the major neuropathy. It's just very, very minor. I also have scoliosis, but I think that was just something that I just had. No, I actually had that after the diabetes as well. It's like diabetes controls everything in your body, and once one thing starts happening, it's a domino effect. Like everything else starts going wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. How good. For the people, so if you would see her, you would think she's upbeat, she's happy. You wouldn't know that she's going through all this stuff, and that was part of the reason why she wanted to do this. Me on my hand, I absolutely have nothing to complain about. If I'm just being honest with you, I myself, the symptoms I developed that kind of made me knew something was wrong was I had already had uh, high blood pressure due to just habits of long work hours, drinking energy drinks to stay alive, eating.
Oh, I drink a lot of energy drinks. Gatorade.
Yeah, they're complete sugar, just sugar. And I was just working long hours, not sleeping, eating whatever I want, drinking alcohol, and that's just pure sugar when it enters your body. And just years of doing that, I developed sleep apnea. Like I mentioned, the blood pressure. I put on a lot of weight. I put on like 50, 60 pounds. And then what really just kind of set it off for me is my wife and I was having men issues. So I was having sexual issues. So I couldn't perform because of that's one of the side effects of diabetes in men. Like you just can't perform. And it got to a point where my wife, I love my wife to death because she's so direct. She was just like, she Aries, so she direct. She said, hey man, you're gonna have to go see about that because I don't know if we're gonna make it if that continues to happen. And because that's not the person I married. When we got married, I was a lot younger, so things, diabetes is progressive, type 2. Even type 1 is progressive. One thing happens, then it's like she says, a domino effect.
It affects so much.
So many things. And then I was running to the restroom a lot, a whole lot. And so I ended up going to the doctor, and the doctor was like, oh, well, yeah, so you're diabetic. Your A1C is 7.2. And I was just like, what? Like, literally, when I read it, it was like the diabetic part was in bold letters. It was like, you are now diabetic. I had been pre-diabetic for a long time, but I thought I was invincible. I just kept eating and doing what I was doing for all these years. And when I saw it, like, I never forget, I called my wife, called Renita, and I cried to her. Like, I was just like, dog, I thought I had at least another 20 years before I had to deal with stuff like this.
Yep.
And she was like, well, now at least you know why you was having all these issues. And so I made up in my mind. I looked at it, if I'm being honest, I looked at it as a death sentence. Because you know how diabetes runs heavily in our family.
Heavy. I was just about to say that.
Heavy.
Medea had it. Daniel has it.
Everybody just about is dealing with high blood pressure or diabetes. And so I saw how they had amputations and all these different kind of things. And I was just like, you know what? This can't be my lot in life. So I said I had to make a change. And so that's what I ended up doing, making a lot of changes in my life as far as my eating habits and things that I was doing to, increase my chances of, increasing my situation. But see, that's the thing though, with type 2 diabetes, you can put type 2 diabetes in remission. With type 1,
it's so hard.
You're essentially on insulin for life, right?
Because your pancreas is not creating any insulin at all. At least with a type 2, half your pancreas is creating some insulin, and the other half is not. It's just like you gotta wake up that other half.
Yep. And you can do that by changing your diet. That's what they don't tell you. The American Diabetes Association doesn't tell you that. None of the American Heart Association, they don't tell you. None of those people will tell you that with type 2, you can put it in remission by changing the things you eat. But with type 1, it's crazy because when I go see my doctor now, I try to refer, about my doctor. It's so hard because nobody wants to
deal with a type 1.
Can you talk about that?
That is so crazy because nobody likes a type 1 diabetic. And the reason being is because it's so hard to help us. it's so hard to help us. Even my primary care physician, when she saw me, she was like, "Oh, you look sick. Like you look like you have diabetes.
Hey, you look like a type.
Like you look like a type 1." And I was just like, "Well, dang, is it just showing on my face? Like, what am I missing?"
Yeah.
But she was like, "Yeah, it is," because she was so scared to prescribe me anything, diagnose me with anything, because she knew whatever it was gonna be based off of my diabetes being the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, doctors hate to see us coming. Even endocrinologists, and that's what they specialize in. Like, it's crazy. It's so crazy. But yeah, nobody likes us because it's hard to figure out what works for us. As a type 1, I've been able to manage my own diabetes. And it's funny because you said that when you went to the doctor, they said that your A1C was a 7.2. That is an amazing number for a type 1 diabetic. For a type 2, I'm like, you're like, okay, wait, what does that mean? Like, that's a scary number. No. Yeah. So I actually looked up, so diabetics, and again, depending on what diabetes you have, your A1C is supposed to be below 7%. My A1C back in 2023, September 2023, I went to my endocrinologist. They did my blood test. She said, your A1C is above 14. So above 14, it's not at 14, it's way above 14. So there's no telling what my numbers were.
So 14 is pretty much where they stop.
Yeah. So even if you go, because I went to Walmart as well, you know, they have like the little A1C testing. Yep. The machine was giving me errors. That's how high it was. Like, it wouldn't even read me a number.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how high it was. But now today, what is this? November, we're 2024. My A1C is a 6.
Come on now. Come on, give me some.
My A1C is a 6, y'all. So
there we go.
Type 1 diabetes, the best thing to do with it is to try to manage it the best that you can. I've had bad doctor after bad doctor after bad doctor. The doctor that I currently have now has helped me bring that above 14 A1C down to a 6.
And how long did that take?
What was that? That was September 2023. It's November 2024 now. So, yeah, a year pretty much, basically. Yeah.
Wow.
So it honestly takes no time because your A1C is your blood sugars over a 3-month span. So if you take 3 months and just diet, exercise, take your medicine how you're supposed to take your medicine, do what you're supposed to do, your A1C can go down tremendously.
And see, in my case with type 2, it's like I say, it's a diet disease. So with my situation, I got diagnosed in December of 2023. At that time, I was 247 pounds. I started, like you say, dieting, intermittent fasting for 16 hours every day, only eating within an 8-hour window, and I eliminated all breads, pastas, rice, beans, fruits. I eliminated everything because fruits are good for you if you're not diabetic. If you're diabetic, it's gonna spike your blood sugar.
Because they're so sweet.
Because it's so sweet. The fructose in it. Mm-hmm. And so I eliminated all of that. I strictly ate protein, fats, and low carb vegetables. Basically green beans, asparagus, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff with no carbs.
Low carb.
No carbs.
Nothing
carb. That can turn into quick sugar.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And once I did that, within 4.5 months, my A1C went from 7.2 to 5.8. And then since then, my A1C now is 5.4 because I continued that.
Yeah.
And with that, and within 7 months, I lost 60 pounds. Just dieting, low carb, and walking every day. Mm-hmm. Every day I try to walk 30 minutes. You know, not doing too much. Like when it's hot, you know, as diabetics, you really can't get overheated, dehydrated quickly. And so I would try to walk early in the morning, or I bought a little walking mat, like a little walking pad, and so I walk on there. And so it goes to show you that if you're type 2, you can put it in remission. And if you're type 1, you can control it. You just have to find the right doctor, watch what you're doing, taking your medications, and watch what you eat, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And what also helped me to manage better was getting a pump and a CGM. So I don't have to prick my fingers anymore. The CGM is your continuous glucose monitor. I have it on my arm right now. I got on long sleeve.
Yeah. You have the continuous glucose monitor.
Yes.
And what brand are you using?
I'm using the Dexcom G6 is the brand that I'm using, and my insulin pump, I'm using the Omnipod -5.
Okay.
So they both work very well together. They communicate, and I can use my phone. I don't have to have like a separate, because when you get your CGM and your pump, they give you like 2 separate devices. But because like I can do the app on my phone, I can just use my phone for both to monitor both.
See, I have the Dexcom, the G7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I use it. I don't necessarily, because you get tired of pricking your fingers.
Yes.
I still, because I'm in good ranges now, but I still check my blood sugar every day. And the CGM makes it easy because you can just literally look on your phone.
Yep.
The only thing I would say that I hate about the CGM is you lay on it. You lay on it, it'll drop your blood sugar, have you think you're in the 40s.
Right.
And then if you don't go and double check it with your normal prick, you'll end up either shooting yourself with insulin or trying to drink something, some orange juice or something to spike it. And then before you know it, you go in the opposite way. And so that's the only thing I wish they can make it a little bit more durable to where, like, if you're laying on it or...
Because it's super sensitive.
It's super sensitive. And so it'll give you some inaccurate readings if you're laying on it or you bump into something real hard. That's the only drawback I say about that. But other than that, not having to prick your finger every day is a godsend.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Literally, I can just look at my phone and be like, oh, that's what I meant? Okay, cool.
I literally, when I prick my finger every day, when I'm not wearing my monitor, I literally... It's like a process. Like I'm literally looking at my fingers shaking, and I've been doing it since I've been diabetic. I just like I'm literally shaking still, and I'm like, all right. I close my eyes, click, and so it's very nerve wracking. And like I said, I've been dealing with diabetes since last year, and it's like, man.
See, I've been dealing with it for 24 years.
24 years.
Yeah.
And so that's why your story is very impactful, man, because type 1 is already rare, and then you don't look like what you've been through.
Not at all.
How can you give some people out there dealing with the diseases that we're dealing with some encouragement?
Y'all, honestly, it was tough getting to where I am today. I dealt with so much depression, so much anxiety, just mentally was not okay. Physically sometimes was not okay. I faked it till I made it, like a lot. A lot. And people are always like, well, she don't seem like there's nothing wrong with it. She always got a smile on her face. It's just because I couldn't like walk around with my problems on me.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you're sitting there and I'm trying to tell you what's going on, you're not going to get it. You're not going to understand.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to help me. So the best thing I can do is just put a smile on for you, and then when I get home, just deal with my issues at home.
So it's a lot of inner work that you have to do.
A lot of inner work and putting God first. Honestly, I put God first. I put myself, and then I put everybody else after me. Because if I continue to put everybody else before me, there's not going to be me left.
Yeah.
Like I had to stop giving me to everybody because my health was deteriorating. Like I was literally dying. So I had to stop worrying and caring about everybody else, and I had, like, God tapped me on my shoulder. He said, hey, I need you to get it together. I need you here.
Because people need to hear your story. People need to hear our story, and that's why we're putting out this podcast, to give people encouragement. And we're gonna come on here and talk about mental health, diet. We're gonna talk about a lot of things, spirituality.
Yeah.
But that's just a ski taste of what we have coming for y'all. And how can people, if they wanna sponsor us with anything, or they want to reach out to us, how can they reach us on?
Okay, y'all, I am still working on getting our social medias together, but you can find us on Affirmative Podcast. That's AFFIRMATIVE Podcast. That's our YouTube handle. That's going to be our TikTok handle, Instagram handle, on everything. That's how you can find us. You can like, comment, subscribe, and share to anybody that you know. Anybody dealing with type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or just anything mentally or physically. We're going to talk about a lot of different just sicknesses. It's not going to be based on a medical perspective, but just on our personal and other people's personal perspectives and how they deal and manage with what they're going through.
That's the only way to eat it right there.